All right, we're back. We are COMP305 in the fall 2019 semester at Centennial, and it's week 13. Gosh, part one. What we're going to talk about today is just final course deliverables. I want to really focus on that. So let's get into this. I'm going to start with up online on week 12. One of the things we asked you guys to do, or I asked you guys to do last week, was do the play test. And some of you did it. There are some groups from the first section that actually got their play test results and were able to iterate and fix some of the problems that they were kind of shown through play testing. So if you notice that this is a bonus of 5%, the way you get the bonus is if you get the results and you use them to build a little document. That's all I'm looking for you to do. So basically update your game design document with some kind of table or graph that shows, hey, what were the results that I got? Right? Now you're going to hand in your game design document today, which is all you'd have to do to get the results is hand it in again, the second time, to this Dropbox. There's two Dropboxes for today. Actually, there's three. There's one for the bonus. 5% bonus applies to all group members, right? So if you actually did the thing, like went to do your play test, got results, iterated on your results, and you showed me a little graph or something that says, look, the people that played my game felt that UI, as an example. You can pick any of the things that they've told you that need to be fixed. Anything that they've told you. And if you fix that one thing, or just try to do something on that one thing, I'll give you 5%. I'll give you one of those, okay? But you need to show me inside your game design document somewhere where it says something like playtest results. And that's what I said. If you just put it in your game design document, and I said also be sure to include it in your final presentation as well. But at the end of the day, if you do that and if you upload a version of your game design document that includes information gathered from the game evaluation survey, you get 5%. That's an easy 5%, guys, if you did it. Okay? And that's like for the entire team, which is awesome. So that's that one. That's due tonight at midnight. And it coincides with your week 13 release, which is going to be your final release for your game. This is the final time we have a chance to update the game. This game is is fully complete. You're going to give me a link to your live site, the latest version of your game design document, and a GitHub link to your project repository. That's what I'm looking for today. That's when it's due. And this is it's worth 10% of your final grade. So there's no bonus here. This is actual. And what this is going to mean is that this is the final version of the game that you're going to be demonstrating next week. And we'll talk about demonstration. There's a couple ways that we're going to work that out, okay? Also, today is the last peer review number 5. That's due tonight at midnight. Remember that there are some people who have not done one peer review for whatever reason. If you don't do peer reviews, that's worth 5% of your final grade if you don't do them. Some people have done none, so they've lost 5%, kind of off the top. And all they are is just basically you saying, hey, my team members are great. I'm great. We're doing fantastic. The world is beautiful. Or, you know what, this other team member of mine is not quite working out properly. Me and the other guys are really working well, but this one guy or one girl is just not working out as best as we'd like her to do. We've talked to her a bunch of times, and she's not really committed. And then that's going to affect their grade slightly, but I'm not going to, just depend on the team members to make, to have the grade. I mean, if the person has been working, but maybe they haven't contributed as much as normal, they'll get a slightly lower grade than everybody else. And I mean slightly lower, okay? So that's peer review 5. That's also due tonight. So there's 3 deliverables. And then finally next week, and this is the big one that I wanted to talk about, is the final presentation. So how do we do this thing? It's worth 10% again. And basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to take your concept presentation that you have already presented to me, I think during week 3. I think that's when we did it, week 3. You put your concept together, you talked about your game and your ideas, and you're going to update this thing. So task 1 is you're going to make a titles page which has your team name, your team logo, the name of the game, and so on. A role slide that you're going to have. You probably already have this. Now if your group has changed somehow, so let's say people have left, dropped out of the course or whatever, please make sure you update the role slide. Influences. Please go over the influences again. A game overview, which is 1 or more slides. What is your game about? Now this is where artists can chime in and add things like animated GIFs, to do it visually. So one thing I want with this presentation, which is different than every other business presentation you've ever done, is I want as little text as possible in this thing. Only where necessary, and I really mean that. Only where it's appropriate are you going to add text. I want this thing to be multimedia. I want you guys to talk about your presentation. You should know the content very, very well. And now if it makes sense, obviously you're going to add some text where it makes sense, where you want to, tell the people that are watching your presentation what to look for. But for the most part, when you tell a story, for example, your game overview or your game story, which is the next one, you want to do it in a way that it's interesting. I don't want to read a wall of text ever in any presentation that we're going to see next week. Okay, so it's not going to be like, I'm not going to read. No one reads that stuff. Nobody. But it'd be really interesting if we can actually see your characters, do something. Okay, well, guess what? My game is about, Mario, a plumber, and he is, going to go through all these places and do all these things, and he's going to be able to jump and show that stuff with animated GIFs. You have artists, and this is the time for them to be used. Then you're going to go into mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics. Again, I would say if I was going to show my mechanics for moving, and if you're making a platformer as an example, then you want to show, when I press the A button, the guy jumps, or as an example, or something. Show me the story. Show me the mechanics. Don't just tell me the mechanics, because that's boring. So I'm going to give, higher marks for that kind of stuff. Dynamics are the way, the player uses the rules that you establish in the mechanics. And aesthetics is like your visual appeal, your audio appeal, the game feel, all that stuff is your aesthetics. And then I also want you kind of separating it into needs and wants, because I want to understand, like, if you were going to make this game in reality, like not just the prototype that you've made in Unity, but a real game, you're going to sell it or whatever, what would you do? One thing that we haven't talked about before is target audience, and I'd like you to kind of say, if I was going to make this game, who am I making it for? What's my target audience? Is it like, teenagers? Is it, kids? So I'd like to know what you're thinking about that. And the final thing is this Unity prototype demo, and you can't do this without thinking about task 2. So two things about the Unity prototype demo. First of all, you can have this at any part of your slides. Even though I've given you a slide, the number of slides, I mean, obviously the title page should be the first one, but other than that, and maybe even roles the second one, but the rest, I mean, you can mix and match to make sure it makes sense, what it makes sense for you, how you want to set it up. I recommend this order, but it doesn't mean that you have to do exactly this order, as long as all the slides are intact. But the Unity prototype demo, some people decide to do the demo first, and then they do all the slides, right? Sometimes they do all the slides, and then they do the demo first. Sometimes they do part of the slides, and up to, let's say, game overview, and before they do their MDA, they show the demo. Yeah.
So the demo, from my understanding, was supposed to be part of the video.
Yeah, I'll talk about that. That's what I'm talking about. So again, here's the thing. For the demo, there's two parts. One is either insert or embed a Unity prototype video that you're going to make anyway, or demonstrate your game live. Now, I don't recommend demonstrating your game live, and I'll talk about why, right? First of all, your whole demo, the whole presentation should take 10 minutes. That's what I want you guys to do. Think about this in a live setting. If you're going to actually pitch this game to somebody, no one wants to look at your game more than 10 minutes. Once 10 minutes goes by, they've already lost interest for the most part, okay? Even 10 minutes is a long time. So you want to pitch your game. Now imagine if you have multiplayer. So example, in Josh's game, he's got potential for multiplayer mode, right? Where you have two players side by side. He's got to have two controllers, or two people have to control the keyboard. It can be very challenging to demo that live, right? Same thing with people who have multiplayer, other multiplayer kind of options, right? Might be difficult to do. And the other thing is, you know what? You might not be great at playing that game in that particular day. Like, maybe you want to demonstrate all the levels of the game. You don't have, we don't have time to look at, 10 minutes of gameplay. We just don't. So what I want you guys to do is do an expose on all the levels that you want to show off. So show me your start screen. Show me your first level, second level, third level, whatever, but do it in a montage. Do it by actually recording your gameplay and, cutting the, kind of the video together so that it's a little bit better than me watching you play. There's no time for that, right? So that way you can make a video that looks nice on YouTube too, as opposed to, It's really rough. I'm recording my screen like I'm doing right now. It's live broadcast. I don't recommend that. Now, if you really aren't good at video production or any kind of experience doing that, or you don't have any time, then the other option is you just record your video to practice, but then when you're here, you do it live. So you just actually play your game live. That would be the second option. But I recommend recording everything to demo it through a video. So that way people can see what you've done. And besides, the real studios, for the most part, unless they have like a rock solid build, they don't do that. They show a video too, yeah.
Actually, first to add to that, actually, it's kind of funny. There was some information shared about the first demo for Jedi Fallen Order, where they actually showed him practicing and screwing up, and they had the like producer, like the head guy, sitting there with him, telling him, do it again.
Right.
You know? For the prototype demo, are we actually gonna have it be like played fully for the presentation?
Let me go
like
through
like
let me go through this all. I might be able to answer your questions if I finish this. Okay, so that task 1 is actually doing your presentation. Task 2 is you select one or more presenters in your group, right? They should become very familiar with your presentation document. You will record a video of your presentation and upload it to YouTube. Your video will be publicly available, but it could be unlisted if you wish. Your video should be no longer than 10 minutes in length. That's worth 10 points. So this is worth 10 points. This is worth 10 points. The whole thing is worth 30 points, but it's worth 10% of your final grade, right? That's what I want you to think of it. So in this case, what I'm looking for is the presenters, whoever the presenter or presenters are, they would do a voiceover of your presentation on YouTube with your gameplay video, right? So first requirement is make your gameplay video, right? Second, record yourself doing your presentation with your gameplay video at the end, right? So that YouTube has kind of both together. So if I was to watch your presentation, I would see your thinking and everything else, and then your gameplay video at the end, your actual gameplay footage, which is what I want to see. So because you're actually doing a gameplay video anyway, it can feed into your presentation. So this presentation would be live. This task 2 is almost like you practicing. So practice your presentation. So whoever's presenting, those voices are the people that I'm going to hear in the voiceover talking about their presentation. It should match approximately what you're going to be saying on presentation day, which is next week, right? And it should take around 10 minutes. So that's task 2. Task 3, you're physically going to present your final presentation next week. Again, only one presenter is required, but more than one person may present. Note, like it says, I recommend that you choose the best presenters from the group. Some people choose to make everyone. I've had groups in the past where they're like, we're all going to present. And then it's terrible. It's a salad, right? You know, some person's talking, the other person's talking a little differently, some person's loud, some person's soft. It really breaks the immersion when someone's watching that kind of thing. Unless every presenter is awesome and they're on the same page, when it's really difficult to kind of choreograph that thing. I recommend one presenter. If you can do 2, it's fine, but I don't recommend more than that. All group members must be present. So whether you're presenting or not, you must be here next week, right? Because this is taking the place of your final test in order for you to get marks for this thing. Now, if you're not here, but you worked on the presentation somehow, like for example, you're the producer or the person who actually did the presentation, you might get part marks. But if you had nothing to do with the presentation and you didn't come, you're getting 0. That's a big mark, because that's 10% of your final grade to lose for not being here. And that's like not coming to an exam equivalent, right? This project component replaces your final test in the course. Your presenters will be marked on presentation style, timing, volume, comfort, and the material. And then presenters may like to read from a cue card or note pages if desired, or you can, from memory. What I do not want to see next week is ad lib. Please do not ad lib your presentation. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a professional quality thing where you've rehearsed it, you've put it up on YouTube, you've practiced this thing, and now you're doing the best pitch you can do. That's what I'm looking for next week. The other thing is that when it comes to presenting, I'm going to give you guys a little survey that everyone's going to fill out. So when you're watching everyone's presentation, your participation matters. So you're going to sit down, as soon as the presentation is done, I'm going to say, okay, fill out the survey. You're going to fill out a survey that's going to say, I understood the presenter, they were very clear. I'm going to show you the survey in a second. I've already built it. All these kind of criteria, and then what's going to happen is I'm going to take that data, that feedback, and I'm going to adjust your mark based on that. Yeah.
So I don't totally. My question wasn't totally answered.
Okay.
So in task 2, we are going to go over the entire PowerPoint and then have a video game of that, correct? So for the Unity prototype demo, that's actually going to be what?
You record this. I want you to record it anyway. Either way.
So what I'm trying to ask is, so if the video, if it takes 5 minutes to get through the entirety of your game, are we actually going to have a full 5-minute video where everyone sits here and watch? So how long is that part? How long are we going to sit here and watch the video?
The whole demo, including the video, is 10 minutes. You adjust how much that. If you want to show 1 minute of video for your demo and you think that's enough, okay. You have like, I don't know, maybe 10 slides or something like that, or something in here, right? So, and you have 10 minutes. I mean, the first slides, in terms of timing, the title page, it's less than a minute. Roles page, less than a minute. Influences, you may want to spend some more time on this one. Game overview, probably want to spend a lot more time on this one. Your game story might be a little more time, more than a minute. MDA for sure will be more than a minute if you want to talk about how this works. Target audience might take less than a minute because you're just going to be talking about, hey, it's for teenagers from, as an example, 13 to 18. I don't know. That's going to be a thing. And then your Unity prototype should take the rest of the time.
So let's say that ends up being like 1.5 to 2 minutes. What needs to be seen and understood within
the game demo? Yeah, so I'm looking to demo the game. So I want to see your start scene. I want to see each of your levels, right? Hopefully when you're playing the game, you're demoing the game, I'm seeing the mechanic that whatever the mechanics are that you're using. For example, let's suppose that you have multiple modes. Like example, I'm going back to Josh's game, right? He's got different creatures he can play, different loadouts, because he's kind of got a tank game. I'm going to put my quotations up here, but he's morphed it so that it's like different creatures that you can play, as an example, and you can play multiplayer plus single player. Like that could take a little bit of time, and I think if you time it properly, you can probably get that done in a couple minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, right? However, if you try and demo it live, that's going to take more than 3 minutes because you're going to have to switch, you're going to have to go by, you're going to have 2 players, and anything can happen. What if you mess up, whatever, and you die, you got to do it again, and so it might eat a lot of time. And I'm saying it's better that you record stuff that you show that's kind of more of a recording that you've done a couple times. That's probably the best recording you can make for your game. It shows better too, and when you have it on YouTube, you can share it with prospective employers, other people that say, hey, look, I made this game, take a look, this is me talking as an example, and here's my gameplay at the end. Let's go right to that gameplay. Let's give you 2 or 3 minutes of gameplay video that's all around my gameplay. If you want a longer version, you can make that too. It's up to you.
So
right?
You don't actually have to have a full playthrough of beginning to end.
No, it's too long.
Okay, that's what
Yeah, it's way too long, because once you go through that, imagine if I made a Mario level, Mario 1-1, all right? That could take me like, I don't know, depending on the skill level, it might take me 10 minutes, right? Or more, right? And we don't have 10 minutes. If everyone took 10 minutes just for their gameplay video, plus on top of that 10 minutes for their presentation, plus on top of that any kind of feedback, questions and everything, we could take half an hour per group. We may not have time, right? So I'm thinking 10 minutes. Now, if we do this the way I'm thinking, then next week, if everyone does 10 minutes plus questions, let's say 15 minutes, there's 4 groups, I think we might be out of here in an hour, right? That kind of thing. That might be good. That might be good timing for you guys. So we don't have to spend the entire time presenting and all that. What I'd like to do is be able to give you some good feedback, take a look at your stuff, get other people to understand what you're making. So you should feel satisfied presenting. I think it's a good opportunity for you guys to present. So that's why I've kind of layered the presentation this way. Let's get into my evaluation example. So I've put together an evaluation form for gameplay, so it looks kind of like this. It'll be a variant of this one, but I have it. So again, it'll be like enter your full name, enter your student ID, what group are you presenting? This is obviously not your groups, but what group are you reviewing? And then you're going to go into presentation materials. It's almost be the same thing. So you're going to say, rate the completeness of the presentation materials. The title page, roles, influences, game overview, game story, mechanics, dynamics, aesthetics, target audience, game. Do they have all this stuff? Yes, 1 to 5, right? Rate the text copy of the presentation materials. What about the size, the font, the contrast, use of concise and appropriate wording, grammar, spelling, all that kind of stuff, 1 to 5. Rate the overall visual appeal of the presentation. Graphics and colors are appealing, images are appropriate and relevant, 1 to 5. Okay, cool. Presenters. You were able to hear and understand the presenters. 1 to 5. Presenters delivered the material in a clear and structured manner. 1 to 5. Presenters knew the material and understood the game they were presenting. The presenters maintained my interest during the entire presentation. They didn't bore the crap out of me. If they bore the crap out of me, give them 1. All right. The presenters were enthusiastic and engaging. They weren't falling asleep and bored when they were presenting. Right. That would be a very bad situation if you did that in real life. The game concept. You understand the game concept. So okay, fine, they present it to you, but now you get what they're making, right? And you think the game concept is interesting, right? And overall rating for the game concept. What is it, right, as an example? And then a comment section where you can add in additional comments to help the group, right? So that they know what you feel. Hey, I think you should do this, or it'd be a really cool idea to do that, or whatever you want to do. And this is what you're going to be all filling out for every group. Okay, so what it does is it kind of coalesces into an Excel spreadsheet, which I can actually mark all the sections. I'll do my own. I'll also mark you with the same presentation, the same survey, and then we'll come up with a mark for you out of 10%, right? So the idea here is that I'm going to definitely use other people's input, but my input will be greater. So if everyone hated your presentation, I mean, chances are I'm going to hate it too, right? Chances are. But mostly what I'm hoping is that you're going to get feedback, and what I want to try and do is feed that feedback back to you when I do your presentation feedback. I'm going to give it to you and say, look, here is all the feedback that you got. Here's your average rating, from your presentation. Part of it's going to be towards the presenter. So let's example your presenting job, right? And you're going to get presentation feedback on you. How did you do? Did you do okay? Did you hear? Like, people might comment on this kind of stuff, right? And I'll share that stuff with you guys. So that's what we're going to be doing next week. And the reason why I put all these materials together is because I want to make sure that people understand it's pretty serious. Like, this is where 10% of your final grade. It's like your final exam or final test in this course. So please take it seriously. And again, just to reiterate, today is the final day for your builds. Anything beyond today, there's no more development past today. Today is the last day for that. And the reason for this is because I want you to concentrate on delivering your product. You made your product today, now you're going to deliver it to me next week. That's what it's like. Imagine if I'm the client. Hey, Mr. Client, here's my product. We worked on it for the last 4 months, as an example. Here it is, kind of thing. And that's what you're packaging together. This is what this whole experience is about. Okay? Questions around the deliverables that I've talked about today. So again, I've talked about 3 that are due today, 1 that is due next week. The 3 that are due today are your bonus playtest, that's due today. Your final iteration, your final build, that's due today. Your peer review number 5, that's due today. Those 3 things. And then your final presentation is due next week. Okay? Questions? That's really it in a nutshell for all this stuff. I'm really hoping that we can have a really clean and straightforward presentation day next week. I think it's really important. I'm hoping that you're going to get good feedback, which is from the whole process. So you feel like you've gone through the entire process, making the game, working with your team, all that kind of stuff, and then you feel like you've done well, right? So that's it for me. I'm not going to record anything else today. Now, at this point, what I'd like to do for the groups that are here, I'm going to review your build, your final build. So please pull up your final build, whether it's on WebGL or on, if you want to show me in the editor. I'm going to go through everybody's final build. I'm also going to be talking about your final presentation. If you have any questions, we can talk more about more details. But remember, what I'd like you to do while I'm doing that with other groups is start working on your final presentation. You should already have a previous presentation that you've worked on before. Work on that today. You may stay here and use it as a work period. You may go home. You may do whatever. But I want to make sure that we're all on the same page so that no one has any surprises coming up next week. Okay? I'm going to stop recording now.